and welcome to the Newsroom with Sana. Today's edition is a special one because we have the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Poland, Mr. Radosław Sikorski, who is in town for a two-day official visit. He's had meetings with the top leadership of the country, including the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Pakistan and a number of other leaders as well. And these key engagements are part of the very important bilateral relationship that Pakistan enjoys with Poland. Earlier this year in July, it was decided that high-level visits and exchanges are going to be strengthened between the two countries as ties between these two states deepen. It is important also to note what really is the current circumstances of the international community, where Pakistan enjoys key geopolitical positioning, and of course importance of ties with Poland is ever increasing. We had a chance to sit down with the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Poland, Mr. Radosław Sikorski, and we spoke to him at length about key international issues, the very important relationship with Pakistan, and his take on some of the things that matter the most to the world community today. Here's a look at the exclusive interview that we had with His Excellency. Today we have with us a statesman of remarkable experience and global stature, His Excellency Mr. Radosław Sikorski, who's the Deputy Prime Minister of Poland and the Minister of Foreign Affairs as well. He has been a former defense minister, a true voice in European politics and a key figure in transatlantic diplomacy. He's been at the forefront of many international issues and is here in Pakistan on a two-day official visit. Your Excellency, it's a privilege to have you with us. Welcome to Pakistan TV.
Glad to be here.
When we take a look at Pakistan and Poland's relations, we've had diplomatic ties for over 6 decades now. You're here on an official visit, something that was decided in July earlier this year as well, to expand high-level visits as well, and you had a number of meetings. How do you see Pakistan and Poland's relationship and the way that it can be enhanced further?
Well, we are geographically distant, and we both live in uneasy neighborhoods with more powerful neighbors. Mm-hmm. And we were both victims of colonialism in the past. There are some human stories between us. So you housed some Polish refugees after the war. Poles helped to build up the Pakistani Air Force. We collaborate closely at the UN. We voted for Pakistan to be elected to the Security Council, also for Pakistan to receive the GPS Plus. Trade arrangement. We are both countries that know that independence is not granted once and for all. Also that language or ethnicity doesn't necessarily are not the same as political identity. And so it's not a particularly close relationship, but it's a friendly one.
Yeah, absolutely. You've been vocal about a number of key issues in the international community, and you spoke about the neighborhood, and you've been a war correspondent in Afghanistan as well, so you understand the situation more closely than others, perhaps. How do you view cross-border militancy and the way that it can be curbed and the way that Pakistan is playing an important role in this fight?
Well, in a sense, the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the trouble in this region is about similar things, namely, when you have ethnic groups striding an international border, are you permitted to change the border? And we in Europe believe, no, you're not. After 2 bloody world wars, we've decided that minority issues should be decided by giving people all the rights that they have, all their cultural rights, rights to use their language with administration, in the courts, publicly, double names of places, and so on. But you must not change borders, because borders everywhere. Every border in Europe is artificial. It's the outcome of some historical accident.
Sure.
And it's the same here. And it's the same in Africa. In fact, everywhere. So fighting over borders is a recipe for war of all against all. We need to learn how to live with the borders that we have.
Absolutely. But what about key issues like the rights that you've just mentioned, such as the ban on girls' education by Afghanistan?
That's appalling.
Yes. So what is the international community, and including Poland, going to do about that?
Well, I've been to Afghanistan many times. They were making progress already under King Zahir in the 60s. Then there was an attempt at forced modernization under dictatorship, under the communist regime. Then there was the Soviet invasion, and then civil war, as you know. And we went in for 20 years, and several million Afghan girls received education and could be forgiven for imagining that their country would now treat them well.
Right.
And to now take people back to their houses and to deny them education is almost, or the prospect of having a normal job is almost worse than not having it in the first place.
Absolutely.
So I really feel for Afghan women who, you know, it was courage to be an Afghan journalist or a policeman or a pilot, and it's a tragic circumstance. And of course, we call on the Taliban government to respect the undertakings that they made at the time of the negotiations, that the position of women would not be degraded.
Right.
Of course, they've broken them.
Right. Another key issue, of course, is what is going on in Gaza right now. And the genocide had been continuing for more than 2 years. And then we see this peace plan that was brokered by the US and other countries. But given the current situation and the escalations that are currently existing, what is Poland's official position on this?
Well, as regards Gaza, we also have to remember that the current turn of the tragedy was provoked by a heinous terrorist attack by Hamas. It wasn't Israel that attacked Gaza, it was Hamas that attacked Israel, and 1,200 people were killed and over 200 hostages were taken, many of whom died. So while condemning the breach of international humanitarian law by Israel and by the overuse of violence, we must not forget the roots of the problem. Poland has consistently been in favor of a two-state solution. We have recognized the independence of Palestine for 4 decades now. We have a fully accredited ambassador. And we are firm believers in the two-state solution, and we condemn illegal settlement of the West Bank. But we don't pretend that we have much influence over it. It's really the Israelis and Palestinians that have to settle it. And what Hamas did was actually not unlike what Yasser Arafat did. They collectively destroyed the peace party in Israel. Because, you know, for having peace, you have to have peace parties on both sides.
Absolutely. But when we take a look at the situation post what happened on 7th of October 2023 and the genocide that continued and the ICJ's just recent ruling of humanitarian aid being allowed, the UN's declaration that it is in fact a genocide, how then do you think the international...
That was a UN report.
Yes.
It wasn't a vote at the UN. And you know, Poland is the place where where Nazi Germany carried out Holocaust. And in fact, the term genocide was proposed by a Polish diplomat.
But it counts for something, doesn't it?
Yes, but you know, not every bloody war is genocide. Genocide is not just a lot of people dying. You know, there is war crimes, there is crimes against humanity, and then there is genocide. So the Polish diplomat who forged the term regarded genocide as a deliberate state action to exterminate another nation. And as we discussed before, this current round of conflict was started by Hamas, not by Israel.
Right. So when we talk about accountability and when we talk about drawing parallels to other conflicts, such as the Russia-Ukraine conflict as well, how do you see the response to that and then the situation in Palestine? Can you draw the parallels?
A lot of people are suffering, so there's an obvious parallel. But the difference is that Ukraine was invaded by Russia. Ukraine was a neutral country at the time, was minding its own business, and yet Putin sent tanks in the hope of changing the government and including Ukraine again within the Russian Empire. And it was condemned by one of the largest votes in the General Assembly ever in the history of the UN, including by Pakistan, as an act of unwarranted aggression by a permanent member of the Security Council, which is supposed to be the guardian of peace. So there is a difference in that in Ukraine, Russia is indubitably the aggressor, whereas Israel overused force in self-defense.
But accountability is important and peace is important, and I'm sure your country stands by both of these terms as well. When we take a look at the response of key players, such as the US President, Mr. Trump, we've just seen that he's put on sanctions. He's talked about how there needs to be more coming in from Mr. Putin as well. But in terms of the way that he can play a role in ending this conflict, he's been calling himself a champion for peace. What is your expectation from him?
Well, I've publicly declared that, like my Pakistani colleague, I will nominate him for the Peace Prize if he brings a fair peace to Ukraine. And for that to happen, he needs to change Vladimir Putin's calculation. Putin still thinks he can win. And as long as he thinks he can win militarily, he will not make peace. These colonial wars usually only end when the colonial power comes to the conclusion that it cannot achieve its objective at an acceptable cost. And Ukraine is preparing to defend itself for at least 3 more years, and we, as Europe, we will fund Ukraine. And so Vladimir Putin has to calculate whether Russia can sustain another 3 years of this bloody, expensive war.
Right. How has Poland's foreign policy position and particularly the relationship with EU and NATO shifted because of this conflict?
Well, we've become a frontline state, which we never wanted to, like you were during the Russian invasion of Afghanistan. And you know better than I what it brought to Pakistan. It brought to Pakistan guns, refugees, and drugs. And we have over 1 million Ukrainian refugees. Thank God, no drugs or weapons. But there are costs, always. We didn't want to be on this tectonic plate on the edge between a re-expanding empire and a peaceful Europe. We would prefer for Russia to go the democratic way and to integrate economically with the rest of Europe. But they chose a different path. When they change their course, we change our policy.
Absolutely. I read in Foreign Policy that you speak the truth even when it's not diplomatic, and that's welcome, and for a top diplomat, definitely so. And so what's your take on international bodies such as the UN, such as the ICJ, and others in ensuring that there is peace, that there is justice? Do you think that when we take a look at how the international community members interact with each other, it's more to do with power politics? What is the role of these international norms and laws if they're just going to be violated?
Well, the world doesn't have anything like domestic law because it doesn't have a global sovereign.
Sure.
So it's all a matter of convention and of abiding by the rules. And of course, this international order is fracturing. And it is unsatisfactory because sometimes we respect it in breach. But the alternative, which is a kind of Hobbesian war of everyone against everyone else, is worse. So let us protect what we have. Let us reform institutions that are not quite fulfilling their role. And I could add, OSCE is not what it used to be. WTO is not what it used to be. The Security Council, you're about to be member, but you know, a Security Council without India, without Japan, without Brazil, it doesn't reflect the correlation of forces in the world. It's a council of the victors in the Second World War. So it's very tough. But an alternative order usually comes through conflict. And I don't think we want to pay that price.
Absolutely. And what of international public opinion, not just for key decision makers of the respective countries, but general international public opinion? Do you think that adds pressure on key figures in making certain choices?
Certainly. As a politician myself, I know how there are limits to what you can do because of your domestic opinion. And it's sometimes for better and for worse, because sometimes you can't make peace. You make peace with your enemies, not with your friends. But emotions do matter.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so concerned about where we are being taken by these algorithms on social media that encourage polarization, that whose owners make money on us hating one another, who don't spend the money on policing the veracity of information that is circulated, or at least the responsibility for what you say. What people say affects the material world. People commit suicide because of what they've read about themselves on social media, and certainly both internal and external conflicts can be fanned by irresponsible use of means of communication. So my personal view is that just like newspapers, books, radio, television were eventually regulated, we need to have some rules giving some rules reigning in the cybersphere as well.
Right, absolutely. As you must be aware, we've just launched Pakistan TV, and we've put an international voice to Pakistan's narrative, and building that stance is very, very important. What is the importance of that media diplomacy with reference to Pakistan and Poland, and what sort of cooperation do you think can exist between us?
Well, we are doing the same. So we have a project called TVP World, which broadcasts in English, Russian, Belarusian, Ukrainian, and soon in the languages of the states of the Caucasus and Central Asia, so close. And I think our duty is to broadcast information that has been verified, because there's plenty of fake news. But when it comes to crises, people do start paying attention, and we need to build trust in sources of information that actually check something. It may sound unambitious, but actually it is.
Absolutely. Your Excellency, there's a lot that one person can do in terms of making a difference and our own spheres of influence. And you've had long years in serving your country and putting voice to things that matter. Where do you think has been the most impactful, and what more do you want to achieve?
Well, I think as Poland, we warned our allies that Vladimir Putin is a chauvinist, he's a Russian imperialist. Not everybody believed us. We feel we've been vindicated, and the West and Russia has now woken a giant. Europe is now rearming itself, is now preparing to deter Mr. Putin on our own. And it's just another wasted opportunity for Russia to become a normal country. We would love to live side by side Russia as normal neighbors, but we will not become a Russian colony ever again.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for giving time to us and speaking to us at length. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Well, you heard the conversation that we had earlier today with the Deputy Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister of Poland, Mr. Radosław Sikorski. And it is important, particularly in terms of Pakistan and Poland's historic relationship and taking it forward on a new level, but also in terms of the key positioning on various international issues of concern to both the countries, and the way that such players in the international community can make a difference and be influential voices that speak up against what is incorrect, and where we need to draw the lines, and particularly in terms of Pakistan's key positioning as well in its partnership with Poland, particularly when we take a look at cooperation areas of trade, energy and investment. There seems to be a lot of inclination towards more balance in terms of our trade and the ways in which the two countries can align together and speak up with mutual interest. There remains to be a lot of discussions underway as to how exactly this particular relationship will be taken forward, but as was agreed previously as well, there seems to be a lot of impetus from both sides to making sure that it does go on the right track. We're going to take a short break here and be back with more news.